Hey everyone, and welcome to our conversation brought to you by the Ring of Democracy. My name is Stacey Volsi alongside Angelica Campos. And with us today, Emmanuel Amanfor, who's running for California State Assembly District 6. And first, I want to say that the Ring of Democracy is a nonprofit organization. We are nonpartisan, not endorsing any candidates. We want to democratize the electoral process and bring you our candidates so you can learn more about them and a conversational setting.
Yes, thank you, Stacey. And Mr. Amanfor, thank you for being here with us today. It's wonderful that you are here and took the time. Could you please share with us and the audience a little bit about yourself, your pronouns, and who you are, so our audience can get to know you a little bit more outside of the politics?
All right, great. So a little bit about myself is my name is Emmanuel Amanfor. My pronoun is he, him. And a little bit about me is I feel that, I'm a person who's interested in making a difference for the people. I'm running for state assembly because I believe that this is a unique opportunity for the people to finally elect someone who can truly represent them, someone who has the lived experience and who embodies the key qualities of truly making a difference for the people. And someone who's also committed to building trust and transparency for the people. My background ranges from my professional work. I work with CDCR, where I oversee contracts and compliance for reentry programs. So when people are released from prison, I oversee the reentry programs to ensure that we are reducing the recidivism for those who have just been recently released. My service leadership experience, I hold two seats. One is as a commissioner for the Sacramento Housing Commission, and the other one is board member for the City of Sacramento Civil Service Personnel Board. And so those are some of the key things that I kind of my experience as far as my professional and my service experience.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. Amanfor. So my question for you, based on what you were saying, you shared that one of your goals is to reduce recidivism. Now, for our audience watching, not a lot of people know that term. Can you break it down and explain for our audience members what that is and why that is important to you?
All right. So when we say reducing recidivism, it's basically a quantification as far as the number when people are released from prison, what's the likelihood of them reoffending or committing a crime and going back into prison? Sometimes that number, that ratio is typically high. For our goal, my goal is to ensure that when they are released, they're provided the wraparound services that addresses their what we call criminogenic needs. So if someone happened to have gone to prison because they had mental health issues, which unfortunately you see a lot of that because prison or jail is not really the best remedy to those who are experiencing mental health. When they do come out, we provide wraparound. So we contract with a community-based organization that provide wraparound services such as substance use disorder and mental health assistance programs to really address those needs, so that as they are going back into the community, they don't recommit those same crimes that would make them go back into prison. So when we say reducing the recidivism rate, we're reducing the likelihood of those who are coming out of prison to come back to reoffend.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And it is important work. It tackles so many different facets and issues that we encounter in our community, like mental health. And like you shared this term that everybody, if you didn't know what it was, recidivism. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'll let Angelica get a few questions in.
Yes, Amanda, you talked to a couple of points of, it seems like you're very involved with, some pressing issues going on in Sacramento with housing, with recidivism. I wanted to ask you, what do you see as the most pressing issues in your district, District 6?
So I think the most pressing issue in my district, which of course is probably the most pressing issue nationally, is really our homeless crisis. Uniquely with me, I have my master's in public health, so I'm a public health practitioner. So I typically do my work in regards to my professional work and also my leadership and service work through the scope of public health. So when it comes to our housing situation, and of course with our unhoused population, that's one of the biggest issues. And I think with my role and my understanding as far as the educational foundation to really address these type of public health issues, because homelessness is a public health issue, I'm able to really address these issues in a very strategic manner.
Thank you. And I appreciate you sharing your, knowing that homelessness is a major issue in Sacramento and, nationally. One thing I wanted to ask related to housing is that many residents in District 6 face challenges related to affordable housing. How do you plan to address this crisis? And can you share specific policies or initiatives you'll likely seek to implement as an assembly member?
So in regards to our housing crisis, when it comes to affordability, I think the biggest thing that people need to understand is that affordability has changed over the years. I think for both the residents and also those those developers that are interested in building new housing units. So for low income individuals who are paying more than 30% of their salary for housing, that's instability, and that leads to a lot of hardship, and it really makes them more likely to fall into homelessness. So in regards to some things that I want to do to really address these things are looking at the policies that currently exist, finding ways to really think strategically where we can really improve some of these policies so that we can have more homes that are being built, and also providing sustainability for those who come from low income so that they don't fall into homelessness. And we also need to collect enough data. I do believe in utilizing evidence-based practice, meaning that if it worked from one city or one region, we can try to implement those same strategies and see how it would fit for our region so that we can determine the success of some of the policies that we're establishing. Our role as far as state assembly members is to really provide support, legislative or funding, to our elected leaders who are city council members or county supervisors. And I think one thing that I definitely want to do is to really provide a good oversight and support with our elected leaders, our city council members, in regards to I forgot, it's called the MIHO. I think the medium income housing ordinance, the max income housing ordinance, where I believe in 2015, those who were developing new housing were assessed a specific fee, and those fees were being used to address low income housing. Unfortunately, that strategy wasn't being monitored effectively, and I know our city council leaders are doing what they can to really adjust it. I think they've just made some changes, some recommendations to really change those so that the policy would not put a strain on developers, but it will also increase the houses that are being developed. So that's something that I definitely would provide support in regards to policies.
Thank you, Emmanuel. It really sounds like you want to look at past things done in Sacramento and create solutions that are actually, going to have results. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also the other thing is to also we need additional funding. A lot of the work that SHRA has actually, so just so you know, my role as a commissioner is part of three joint powers. So my role is an appointed position where you have collaboration with city council members and county supervisors, and also SHRA. SHRA is essentially the organization that really executes some of the projects in regards to housing and housing within the city and the county. So some of the work that I have an opportunity to really provide support and voted on their progress are programs such as the SARA program, which is the Sacramento Emergency Rental Assistance Program, where it was, I believe, $180 million to provide support for those who were not able to really pay their rent during the pandemic, and also their utilities. And also the other project that we've been working on is Project Home Key, where they're redeveloping motels into housing units for our in-house population. So if we have more funding, we can actually develop more of these programs so that we can really address our homeless crisis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, just to recap, I know you mentioned Sarah, and there was another program But additional funding, from what I'm understanding, is one thing, a major thing that needs to be addressed to fund programs that are helping our community members. Is that, am I getting that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Additional funding.
Okay. So in terms of housing, I have a few questions for you, and two of them from community members. So if you hear me, if you see me looking down and reading, it's because community members had questions specific to that I want to ask. So I don't want to leave this topic before I ask those questions.
Okay.
So our first question is from Ty. What will you do to stop major corporations and investment funds from buying up single-family homes and artificially inflating prices when inventory is already tight?
So in regards to what I would do is basically what I currently have been doing as a housing commissioner. We get a lot of development from various organizations who want to develop housing in different units. We do our thorough research to ensure the efficacy as far as what they're going to be developing, whether or not if it's going to really impact the community in a positive light or there's going to be a long-term negative impact. I think one of the cases that we actually did where many of the commissioners actually voted nay on it was for a developer who wanted to develop a new housing unit outside of the city, but they will be using our funds. And we technically voted no on that. But I think if you look into that, there's you might see that it was actually approved, but I can go on record saying that I did not approve that. So I think that's the role that we've done to try to provide that oversight. And in regards to what I would do, I think I would ensure that give a little bit more power to such commission so that they can really have, and also have more transparency for people to really know what's going on. The more people who know what's going on, the less likelihood that these developers would want to really abuse the opportunities that's being available for the people.
Okay, now just to follow up on that, to make sure we touch every part of the question since he's not here to ask. But let's say the large corporation decides, oh, there are 5 homes in Sacramento, they're under 300K. Let's buy it up. Let's stock up so we can rent it out and let's bring, all the prices go up. So what would you do about corporations buying the properties in that sense?
Just develop a checks and balance committee to ensure that these these companies are not buying up all these houses and increasing the market price. I think that's the best way we can really do it. Once we're able to collect enough data, the unfortunate thing is that we need to have a precedent. If we already have a system that's really, I think they already have a system that's already been developed, we can take a look at that. With my experience as far as what I've done with CDCR, we typically contract with various organizations that provide services to our population. So what we typically do is we have a data management system that can help us to really see the data as far as if there's a possibility of them playing the game. You know what I mean? I think that's one thing that we can really implement, that I would implement. If we're collecting the right data, if we have the right people who are able to really pinpoint some of these organizations that are really abusing these opportunities, then we can really address them. But right now we have no precedents. So what I would do is to really collect as much data as we have, do a thorough analysis as far as what companies are buying up these lands, increasing the market price, and then ensure that they no longer have an opportunity to buy up these lands again.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much for addressing that specific question. Now, a second question from a community member, Mauri. What is your step-by-step plan to shelter our unhoused community, and do you support Safe Ground?
What is the step-by-step what?
Step-by-step plan to shelter our unhoused community. And the second part of the question, do you support Safe Ground?
Well, the step-by-step plan to support our unhoused community, I think, is to really do some of the things that the city have been doing. I know they have the response team that have been going out to various individuals, understanding what they need, what their needs are. I think it's an assessment. For my role as a state assembly member is to ensure that they're doing a thorough assessment. I think this is where capturing the data is important, and being able to really have skilled individual subject matter experts, both those who are organizations and those who've experienced homelessness. They need to be a part of the pool as far as being able to do the intake for those who are currently experiencing homelessness. So when it comes to the intake, assessing them, identifying what their true needs are, and then connecting them with organizations and wraparound services that can really address some of their needs. That's the step that I would really implement. And then if they need any housing, of course, housing is the key goal, but I think that we also need to keep in tangent if they need any other wraparound service, such as mental health programs, or anything else that's needed. So that's the step-by-step, just doing an assessment and then routing them into all the resources that's needed. And what's the second question?
Do you support Safe Ground?
I support Safe Grounds as a temporary transit process. It should not be a long-term thing, but I think it's a good way as a transitional process, which is what I kind of do with my job. We have transitional houses where we have people who have been released from prison. They're given the opportunity to stay at housing for close to 180 days. And then when they pass that 180 days, hopefully they transition into permanent housing. But during that time, we're providing assistance and support for them so they can become sufficient independently. And that's what I would implement for the safe grounds. While they're staying at safe grounds, they're being provided different resources in order for them to be sustainable independently.
Got it. Okay, so from what I gather, with Safe Ground, it's just transitional housing. You see it more as a transitional housing aspect, and for the step-by-step guide, like you're assessing and determining what resources and wraparound services this person would need prior to moving forward in your plan.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, and I hope that those were the two questions about housing. So I think there are other ones, but I'll come towards the end. But thank you so much.
No problem.
And thank you, Stacey. And one thing I wanted to ask as well is, a huge other pressing issue in Sacramento right now that everyone talks about, public safety. I wanted to know your role. How would you leverage your position to ensure that public safety, while also supporting policies addressing housing affordability, mental health services, and homelessness?
Wow, that seems like a really packed question, but I think when we think about public safety, the community have 2 points of view in regards to public safety. The first part of public safety, of course, is that you want to have the opportunity to be able to go out and not be harassed or harmed when you're out there with your family, friends, or just going anywhere. You want to ensure that you're able to go out and come back home safely. In regards to public safety, ensuring that we have resources that's available for those. So let me go back to this. When it comes to public safety, I want to ensure that we have trained officers who are there to respond to certain issues when needed. So people would have that comfort whenever they go out. They know things are going to be good. They won't be harmed and so forth. And the other part of public safety is when they do get those assistance from our sworn officers, they don't want to be harmed or killed. And that's something that we've seen in the past couple of years has really impacted people's perception in regards to public safety. So building that trust with our sworn officers. I think it comes down to developing accountability. For my role as far as civil service personnel board member, I have presided over cases with officers who have been identified to, doing things that they should not be doing. And a lot of those cases, I've adjudicated in those cases to ensure that they do face the consequences of their actions. So I have that experience that I can really bring on when elected your state assembly member, adjudicating on some of those cases and really expanding those roles to a wider lens. And what's the other part? I didn't hear it.
It was just like basically how to tackle I feel like you touched on it, is just like how to tackle like addressing public safety, but also making sure you're also addressing mental health and which is what you've talked about earlier, sort of.
Yeah. So, and the other part when it comes to public safety, so one thing that I want everyone to know with my education, there's a correlation between increase of unemployment and increase of crime. So when you see a high increase of unemployment, then there's the higher likelihood that the crime would increase. So ensuring that we have programs that's going to be addressing employment opportunities for those within the community. We have a lot of youths who are looking for jobs, who are ready. Some of them may not have the skills, but we want to ensure that we have programs that are addressing those needs so that they're ready and prepared to be able to really attain a lot of the jobs. And also in regards to public safety, I do understand that we also have retail theft, which is something big. And I have a lot of sentiments to those small business owners and also those corporate business owners that are being impacted by these retail theft. And I think that, looking at the data carefully, ensuring that, those who are committing these crimes do face the consequences. But we don't want to change the laws where it has a negative impact. I know we always have a lot of great intent in certain things, but my key thing is to really think carefully regarding the impact. When it comes to those issues, when it comes to public safety, really looking at the data carefully, the qualitative data and quantitative data before making any key legislation that'll have a negative impact in the community.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. It sounds like you have, your experience in criminal justice as well. Your background has really, shaped your decisions for how you plan to address this public safety issue in Sacramento. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, and even when it comes to the criminal justice system, I think I'm nationally known as someone who's actually fought for criminal justice reform to ensure that, those who probably have committed some of these crimes, not all of them are bad people. They just they were put in the wrong circumstances or unfortunate circumstances and where they made the wrong choices. I mean, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, where crime was very prevalent and you're more likely to actually commit a crime at a very young age. So I've had friends who've committed crimes, who've gone to jail, some friends who were gang members. So, but they had, rough upbringings, and unfortunately, they went to the wrong route. So I'm a bit, sympathetic with some of the laws, but I still believe that, if you do commit certain crimes, if you do commit crimes, you should face a consequence. But we need to keep in mind that there's an equity lens within it, meaning that if one person commits the same crime, they should both face the same time, and it shouldn't be differentiated based on background or complexion.
Thank you.
Well, what you just said, like a bunch of what you just said, just had my brain like turning. So first, you made it clear that you're very data driven. So thank you for that. Now, my question in regards to District 6. Now, maps show oftentimes that disadvantaged communities have a higher rate of unemployment, and you share that unemployment is correlated with crime activity. Now, how would you be able to use your position as a legislator to affect policies that engage those communities to kind of like encourage them or encourage workforce development or policies that would help kind of shift that on its head?
So what I definitely would do is I would ensure that so I think the key thing that I'm thinking about, I'm trying to think of the word, we need to ensure that the current infrastructure that exists that's designed for individuals towards the pathway of success when it comes to employment really makes sense. Society has changed over the years where technology had an impact in people's opportunity to really be wealthy. And I think that we need to implement that when it comes to education and also job opportunities. I also used to teach medical billing and coding and also Microsoft Office at a college in New Jersey. And my students range from the ages of 18 all the way up to 75 years old. Of course, they're all in different spectrum as far as, their ability to really attain that information. But when they're graduated, a lot of them were not able to really attain a position or a job because the school that they graduated for, the level of information that they learned, didn't really prepare them for the workforce. So I think the key thing is to really ensure that we have programs that are currently designed to ensure that those who are graduating from these programs, there is job opportunity at the end of it. And it's not just a for-profit scheme that organizations tend to take. And you see a lot of these programs being established in small communities. So we want to ensure that, there's a true pathway to success and employment for our low-income communities. So education is typically the key to success, but I think we can always look outside of the box and see that there are other avenues for people from low income to be able to be successful. And that's what we need to tap into. And I plan to really tap into that. One thing is to ensure that, our STEAM program is not only dedicated to our K through 12, but also those who want to learn something outside of that.
Thank you,
Okay,
Emmanuel.
well, thank
And,
you.
you know,
Thank you for
as we're
sharing
on the
that.
topic
STEAM,
of
STEM
so
program.
dis-
STEAM?
STEM.
certain communities being
STEM program, not
disproportionately
STEAM.
affected by certain
In some places
issues.
they call it STEAM, so
With
I get it.
workforce
Don't worry, I did
development,
get it.
All
another
right.
big one is environmental issues.
Emmanuel. And
And I
as we're
wanted to
on the
ask
topic
how
of
you will
dis-
leverage your role in the
certain
assembly to
communities
address
being
environmental
disproportionately affected
concerns such as
by
improving air
certain
quality,
issues,
promoting green
with
initiatives,
workforce development,
and another
mitigating
big
climate
one is
change.
environmental
So, of course, with my
issues.
background in public health,
And I wanted
I
to
have the
ask how
educational
you
and
will
experiential. I've done
leverage your
research on
role in the
this,
assembly to
literally
address
research on this.
environmental concerns
And
such as
of course,
improving air
one thing that I can say
quality,
is
promoting
that when
green
you come from low income,
initiatives,
you're more
and
susceptible
mitigating
of
climate
experiencing
change.
chronic bronchitis,
So,
of course, with my background in public health, especially, for example, if you live near a gas station, I've done research on this. If you look at the data, you're more likely to have and of course, one thing that I can say is that when you come from low income, you're more susceptible. So in regards to that, experiencing definitely want to chronic make sure that bronchitis, our plan, I would be supportive of going green.
especially,
For example, low income communities, but I think we need to be practical. If you look at the data, you're more likely to have this. When I said I come from a data and from qualitative standpoint, and also in regards to that, definitely want to make sure that we have a lot of our plan. I would be supportive of going green, pushing going green for our low income communities. But I think we need to be practical is that have we developed the infrastructure to really address when I said that I come from a data and to afford qualitative standpoint and also quantitative standpoint. For example, we want to understand that we have a lot of that are electric powered vehicles because that's a good way to go green. But we have people who come from low income who cannot afford the infrastructure to really address those. How are we addressing that? And yes, we can have the buses that are that may be, for example, we want to have vehicles. School board, they have electric powered vehicles now because that's a good way to go green. That's a good resource. But we have people who just need to really think how to afford that. Like I've said before, our intent is always good, but we never know what's in that. And yes, we can have so buses, I'm all in support as far as going green. Maybe really thinking strategically about school board. They have effectively buses now, and also developing key milestones. That's a good resource. A lot of people said, "Oh, we're just need to really think what plan do we have?" Like I've said before, our intent is always good, but we never know what the I believe is in 2030. So I'm all in support as far as going green. 2030, but strategically, I haven't seen what milestones how effectively will be, and also developing key milestones. What milestones said, "Oh, we're going to go green," but what plan do we have? That time that this plan was put into effect, I believe is it 2030. Up to now, have we met it? Is there 80? Have we met it at least 80%? 30, but efficacy means that we're doing really good. Milestones, but if we haven't met it, then we have to go back to the drawing board and make certain decisions. What milestones have we developed for us to meet? Yes, the goal is there. That time that this plan was put into effect. So and also now, have we met it? Is there 80? Have we met it at least 80%? That's what I kind of will bring into that to ensure means that we're doing really good. Plan really makes sense. But if we haven't met it, then we have to go back to the drawing board and make certain decisions.
It sounds like,
so yes, the
you
goal
think,
is there, but
something
are
that
we
should be
keeping
done
track
is
as far as what we're
addressing
doing?
the
So, and I
data
also
as
have
well and seeing
I
what's
was
been
a
done so
project
far
manager,
and
so
how to
that's what I kind of will bring into
tackle
that to
that
ensure that,
issue of
our
climate
plan really
change
makes sense.
affecting certain communities and how we
you,
can get,
Emmanuel. It sounds like,
these marginalized communities to also have the opportunity
something that
to
should be done is
participate in
addressing
green
the data
initiatives
as
so
well and
appreciate
seeing
you
what's been
touching
done
on
so
that.
far
On the
and how
topic
to-
of this, a
how
community
to
member
tackle that
also had a
issue
question
of
related
climate
to,
change
climate
affecting certain
change.
communities.
And the
how
question
we
from
can get,
Mari is, what are you
these
doing
marginalized
marginalized
communities
communities
to
to also
climate
have the
change?
opportunity to participate in these
So
green
what I'm doing personally
initiatives?
to
So
address climate
appreciate you
change
touching
is
on that.
that
On the
I am
topic of this, a
teleworking.
community member also had a
So a lot
question
of state
related to,
employees are
climate
actually working
change.
from home, and I think they've
The
just
question from
transitioned into
Mari
wanting us
is,
to actually go
what are
into
you doing
office a
personally
little
to
bit
address
more. But
climate
if you look at the
change?
data, since the pandemic, so what I'm doing personally to address climate change is that you've seen that the air quality is actually improved. So a lot of state employees are actually working from home, and I think they've just transitioned into wanting us to actually go into office a little bit more. But if you look at the data, since so what I've done is really to ensure that a lot of people have been working from home. Whenever I'm going to work, seeing that the air quality is actually improved. I'm very cognizant of my house. So my wife also has a master's in public health, so we're always talking about not wasting, really make a difference with the community, or not within our environment itself. So what I've done is really to typically most of the time we just we carpool. Whenever I'm going to work, I usually carbon footprint. My wife, I'm very cognizant of my house. So my wife also has a massive to really make a difference for the community. We're always talking about I don't waste and really make a difference with the community within our environment. So a lot of my flyers, typically most of the time we just online instead of printing a lot of flyers that some people may be receiving now, and we're really cognizant of the trash. So that's something that I'm really careful about. For me, I don't each house and very careful as far as each individual instead of a lot of my flyers just printing them in the mail. I do a lot of things like online instead of being careful and strategic in regards to some people may be receiving now, but they may be going into the trash. So that's something that I'm really careful about.
Thank you for sharing that.
Well,
And I
I'm
love
actually
that you
going to
touched
each house
point
and really
on
giving the flyer to each
the
individual
waste
instead of actually
that can
just
occur
printing them
with
in the mail
different
and they're being
different
thrown
things
away.
that
So
you may
I'm
do
being
in your
careful and
campaign.
strategic in regards to
Also your
how
carbon
what I
footprint.
do
So thank you for
impacts the
sharing that.
environment.
It's good to know. Yes, a lot
Thank
of
you for
folks
sharing
are
that. And I love
very
that you touched
concerned with
point
environmental
on
changes, environmental justice.
the
So
waste
thank you for
that
so
can
much
occur
for
with
bringing
different
that to everybody's
different
attention.
things that you may do in your campaign.
And I don't like
Also your
being the
carbon
bearer of bad
footprint.
news.
So thank you for
but
sharing
this
that.
conversation. It's good to know.
I wish it could be
A lot of
longer so
folks
we can
are
finish
very
talking to you because
concerned
there's
with
a lot of
environmental
questions.
changes,
We have a lot of
environmental
questions, but
justice. So
we
thank
only
you
have
for
30
so much
minutes, and I
for
want to be
bringing
respectful
that
of
to
your
everybody's
time.
attention.
So one thing,
and
I
want you
don't
to
like being
leave
the bearer
our
of bad
community
news,
members
but
with
this conversation,
why is a vote for you?
I wish it could be longer so we could finish
vote
talking
for
to you because
District
there's a
6,
lot of
because
questions.
why
We
should
have a
they
lot
vote
of
for you?
questions, but
Well,
we only have
essentially,
30
why
minutes,
they
and
should
I
vote
want to
for
be
me is
respectful of
because,
your time.
like I've said it in the
So
beginning of this
one
interview,
thing,
is that I have
I
the
want
most
you to
lived
leave
experience
our
to really
community
make a
members
difference for
with.
the people.
Why is a
This
vote
is
for
a unique
you,
opportunity for the people to really vote for
a
someone
vote for
who
District
can really
6,
take
because
action
why
for the
should they vote
people.
for you?
In regards to my background, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I immigrated into this country at a very young age, and I worked hard to really attain what we now know to really make a difference for the people. American dream. This is a unique opportunity for the people to really vote for someone who can really take action for the pain they do. In regards to my background, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I immigrated into this country at a very young age. So I'm here to really represent you and to really attain what we now know as what I have that American dream. So I can really relate to those who actually want to see changes in regards to our homeless working hard, as I've said before, as commissioner for SHRA. I've been able to see the impact. So I'm here to really represent you and to make sure that you're being protected. And you have that option to continuously grow. I actually have the most people who want to see changes in regards to our homeless crisis. As I've said before, as commissioner for SHRA, I have my master's in public health, so I am able to see things that have broader scope in regards to how everything we do really impacts. I actually have the most so public health is technical understanding, the key thing that drives what we can really do in regards regarding our homeless crisis. I'm a family. I have my family man, so I am able to see things that are broader scope 1 to 15 in regards to how I know that everything we do really being able to provide for your family and making a difference, and also literally protect the key thing that drives public safety. I work in CDCR, and I'm also nationally known as someone who provides happily married with 4 boys, ranging from ages of 1 to 15. So I know the impact. These are just a few things that I family and making a difference to. Feel free to go to my website to learn a little bit more. But I think that public safety, in regards to why people should vote for me, I think that you have an option to really known as someone who can really represent you. My last name is Amanfor, which is part of my campaign slogan, which is Amanfor. These are just a few things that I'm just alluding to. Feel free to go to my website to learn a little bit more. But I think that you actually have someone who has the professional and lived experience. I think that you have an option to really see someone who can really represent
We
you. My last
appreciate
name is
that so much, Mr.
Amanfor, which is
Amanfor,
part of my
and
campaign
thank you
slogan, which
again
is
for joining us, and for everyone watching, we encourage you to
a vote for
register
me
to
is actually a vote
vote
for
on
you.
March 5th,
And you
and
actually have someone who has the
thank you again.
professional
Have a
and
good
lived
night.
experience to really make a difference. Take care.
We appreciate that so much, Mr. Amanfor, and thank you again for joining us. And for everyone watching, we encourage you to register to vote on March 5th, and thank you again. Have a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.